with the football a lot. You got a lot of tackles for loss is a comparison. Percentage of your tackles, a bunch of forced fumbles, fumble recoveries. What do you attribute that to?
My goal every time I step on the field is just to be disruptive. And however that may be, whether that may be, getting a sack fumble, whether that may be pressuring the quarterback, whether that may be getting a TFL, making a big play on a running back, helping my teammate make a big play, whatever the case may be, whether it be special teams, blocking field goals. My goal when I step on the field every time is just to be disruptive.
Mike Prizzuta, DVE.
Quincy, what in your mind defines Temple tough? And did you bring that to Miami with you, and are you bringing it to Pittsburgh?
Yeah, Temple tough is a mentality, not just physically tough, but mentally tough. And it's a mentality that you got to bring every day, and it's something that's we're kind of conditioned to be. And, if you look at any Temple football players that have went pro in the past, you'll see that there's a difference in their mentality than guys that come from elsewhere.
Brian Batko, Post-Gazette.
Hey, Quincy, congratulations. Seeing a lot of the draft projections for you were, rounds 3, 4, maybe 5, where you ultimately got picked. How much of a chip does this put on your shoulder as you come to Pittsburgh here? I'm
definitely not, number one, I'd like to say that it's a dream come true. I appreciate the opportunity. It's a huge blessing to be drafted in any round. Of course, I expected to go higher in the draft. I'm gonna shoot you straight. I thought I was going to go higher. It was a long 3 days sitting on the couch. But that's kind of been the story of my life. I wasn't highly recruited coming out of high school. I had to work my way into a starting role at Temple, I even coming out of Miami, you see it. Somehow, I became second fiddle, and I've always had to prove myself and just work a little bit harder. It's nothing new to me.
Jenna Harner, PXI.
Quincy, just what does it mean to you to be a Pittsburgh Steeler? And do you know anything about the Steelers? Do you have any, previous knowledge about this team?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's actually funny. I know a lot about the Steelers because, I've grown up in Baltimore. I was on the opposite side of the rivalry. So I know a lot about the Steelers. I watch them every year. And it's a huge blessing to be playing. Be in the same room as guys like Bud Dupree, TJ Watt, that's a huge blessing in itself.
Chris Adamski, Trim.
Hey, Quincy, nice to meet you this way. It says, your NFL.com profile says very average athletically, and I said that sounds like a put down, but in a way it's a compliment. You've been this productive to get to this point. All the sacks you get. I don't want to say how do you overcome that, but how have you become so productive whenever that way?
Yeah, somehow along the way, during this draft process, I'm kind of labeled as, not the most athletic guy. I'm not a guy that will just run a 4.3. I'm not going to jump a 45-inch vertical, but I have decent athleticism, but I'm a technician, and I'm a football player. I mean, when, I line up in front of a guy, my technique and my football intelligence is what's going to make me a good player, while I still possess athleticism.
Noah Strackbean, Sports Illustrated.
Hey, Quincy, congratulations. Going back to the Steelers, how excited are you to get to play with TJ Watt, and what do you think of him?
I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I've always watched this defense, and this is right up my alley. Hard nose, rugged football. This is right up my alley. And it worked out. Even though I went low in the draft, but it worked out. There isn't too many programs in the league that would have been a better fit than the Steelers. I'm excited. to be here. And I can't wait to start improving. And just get to work.
Chris Carter, DK.
Hey, Quincy, when I watch your tape, man, I see violent hands that do a lot of different pass rush moves. You seem to have developed different ways to beat people inside and outside. Can you talk about your process to getting to have all those different moves and maybe some things that you want to keep working on as you get to the pros?
Yeah, just a lot of repetition. And that's with anything. The only way you'll be good in this game is if you do it 1,000 times before game day. So I attribute anything to repetition, the hard work, and my preparation. But yeah.
Tim Benz, Trib.
Since you've been drafted here, or any conversations that you might have had with the Steelers in the pre-draft process, what have they told you about the opportunity for playing time this season, given that they've lost a couple guys at this position during free agency?
Yeah, well, obviously it's a position that that there's some flexibility, whether there's opportunity there. But I understand nothing will be given to me. I understand that I'll have to come in and I'll have to work and I'll have to grind. But that's right up my alley. Like I said, the programs that I come from in Temple, in Miami, growing up in Baltimore, that's right up my alley. Hard nose, hard work, blue collar. Yeah.
And last question, Jeff Hawthorne, 93.7.
Hey, Quincy, it sounds like from the background noise, your family likes to have fun. What are these Ravens Steelers games going to be like now in your family?
I'm not sure. I'll be totally honest. I'm in a house full of Ravens fans. But I just told them today I don't even want to see the color purple. I'm on my way to. I got somebody dropping off a terrible towel to me tonight. I don't even want to see the color purple anymore.
Thank you so much, Quincy. We appreciate it.
All right, thanks everybody. Have defense coordinator Keith Butler here. Obviously, after our most recent pick, Quincy Roche, linebacker from Miami. If everybody can get their hands raised, we'll just start with questions. And let's start with Tim Benz. Tim, go ahead.
Keith, with Quincy here, you've lost two guys, the outside linebacker position in free agency. How does he fit in the mix to supplement some of those losses? And who else do you have there to offset the departures of Bud Nola?
Well, we'll see. We hadn't finished with our free agency and stuff like that. We've got 4 guys that we know of. So where does Quincy fit in that situation? We'll have to wait and see what we do in training camp, how everybody's doing in training camp. Obviously, Alex Highsmith filled in for us pretty well last year. Everybody knows about TJ. He's solid. I think we'll be okay at that position. But again, it's a lot of stuff we'll have to wait and see when we get to training camp and see how we develop in those situations.
Let's go to Mark Caboli. Mark.
Hey, Keith, I know you've had a lot of success with the 4-3 edge guys, the outside linebacker converting them. What do you look for that tells you that that guy can make that transition from just rush into pass coverage?
Well, our guys usually do a pretty good job in terms of working these guys out. Is pass coverage a big deal for us in the 34 defense? It is at times, yes. It can be at times. We don't ask them to do but one or two things. Most of the time when we're playing zone defense, we ask them what we call spot drop, and where they just drop to the numbers and read the quarterback and stuff like that. Or maybe if somebody runs what we call a wheel route, they'll have to take them in that situation. We got one more coverage that we use that we ask a little bit more from them. We spend a lot of time trying to teach that in training camp. So it's not like we ask them to do a lot. A lot of times they're playing more of a defensive end rush guy for us than they are in coverage. However, we will use them in coverage, but for mostly the main part of their responsibility is going to be stopping a run and rushing the passer.
Noah Strackbean.
Hey, Keith. You guys addressed the linebacker and edge roles, or the defensive line as well, earlier than you did if you do end up selecting a cornerback or a safety. Some say corners seem to be more of a pressing need. Why did you guys decide to go up front first?
I think what we did was took the best athlete available, or the best athlete that we had ranked high. I mean, it was still a need, but I think what you got to do is hopefully try to get the best guy that you can get, regardless of the position. There was position needs for us that we did take care of, but it was because we had guys rated higher at that position than maybe we did as a corner. We still got a need at corner, and it doesn't mean that we won't draft anybody in this seventh round to play corner, but we'll wait and see is what we have, what's left for us in the draft, and try to draft accordingly.
Mike Berzuda.
Keith, what do you think you guys have in Cassius Marsh? He's done some things in the league, but he's played for seemingly everybody.
Yeah, he has, but he hadn't played for us, and there's still some things he's got to learn in our defense. He picked it up pretty well last year, and we were glad to have him because we needed him for depth last year. When Bud got hurt, it really kind of put us in a bind in terms of the outside linebacker position. We didn't ask Cassius to do a lot in terms of coverage. I think we got to try to, when he comes back, we got to try to get him in position where he's comfortable in what we're going to ask him to do. And the only way to get comfortable in what we ask him to do is to do it. So, we're gonna try to teach him what we like to do with the outside linebackers, but he's still got a good knack for rushing the passer and playing a run. So he's got his foot forward on that one. So the thing we got to do is try to teach him what we try to do in using these guys for pass coverage.
Christopher Carter.
Hey, Keith, on Quincy, where did you guys have him valued in this draft? There was some talk that he might have been an earlier pick that fell to later. Was this around the area that you guys were expecting, or was this kind of a surprise that he was there and you guys sort of pounced on the opportunity?
Well, it was a little bit of a surprise him being there. We rated him around the late third, early fourth, or all the way into the fifth round. But we like I said, we had different people on the board at the time that might have been rated a little bit higher. And so we took, the highest rated guy might not necessarily be what you need or what you want. Sometimes you take a position, you hope you can get another position later on in the draft. I mean, I'm sure Kevin's talked about that and Mike has talked about that. So, for us, we had several needs on defense. We got to them. We're still in need of a couple or one position, couple positions here and there, but we'll see what happens.
Brian Bacco.
Yeah, Keith, I was kind of surprised he was still there too, just looking at his measurables and everything. And he had 19 sacks a couple years ago, I think, at Temple. From your study of Quincy, why was the production, not quite as prolific with 4.5 sacks last season at Miami?
Well, they had a lot of people down there playing now. It wasn't just him. And I think sometimes when you go to new places, I'm not a big fan of the portal in college football. I think it makes it tough. for colleges to keep people at their schools, and they got to play them in waves to try to keep everybody happy and stuff like that. But with the situation in college nowadays where you can go somewhere if you graduated or go somewhere if you don't like where you're at, stuff like that. There are different people playing those positions at different times, especially with the opt-out stuff that happened last year. These last couple of years have been kind of crazy in terms of, college football and really kind of crazy for us trying to evaluate people and wonder if they're coming out and if they're not coming out. So I think, those 4.5 sacks at that time, I mean, for the circumstance, I don't know how much that means, to be honest with you. You look at what's happening at Penn State, and then a couple of kids that they had it outside there too. Same thing with him. So we just try to figure out what we see on film and see how they're going to contribute to our team.
Joe Rutter.
Yeah, Keith, after the way the first 2 days went, and actually the first 4 rounds, we ready to pound the table and get some guys on defense. And what do you think of the other 2 guys you got?
Well, I know this, and I've been here a long time, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to coach in 3 Super Bowls, and I think in all 3 of those Super Bowls we had a good running game. So I'm not going to gripe and complain about us picking Najee in the first round and staying on offense the first day or 2. That don't bother me, because the best defense to me is always sitting on the sideline watching your offense run the football. So, we've got to get a better rushing attack, and I understand that. The head coach is doing what he thinks is best, and so is Kevin. They're doing what they think is best for this team, and I agree with them, even though we might not get a pick till later on, and I'm for that. I'm for us being a good football team. I'm not for us just being a good or great defense. I'm not just for that. I'm for winning football and try to win another Super Bowl.
Chris Adamski.
And the first 2 guys you got?
Okay, hold on, Chris. Go ahead, Joe.
I just said, in the first 2 guys you got today, what are your thoughts on them?
The kid from Texas Tech.
Texas A&M.
Yeah, Texas A&M. I'm sorry. Yeah. I like him. I think he's going to be a good player for us. He's very quick. He moves good. Linebackers, we always talk about linebackers. You take them in those draft picks. He's going to come in and help you with depth, but he also has got to come in and help you with special teams. That's what if you draft a linebacker, inside or outside linebacker, he has to contribute to the special teams and make those special teams good in order for him to buy time for him to make the team, number one, and then work towards trying to become a starter in the National Football League. You don't get that time to do all that stuff as a linebacker in the National Football League unless you show that you're valuable to the team. How you do that? You play good special teams, and that's a big part of what we emphasize here. They got to play good special teams for us, and I'm sure we're going to ask him to do the same thing. But we're going to be all right, I think, with what we got. The thing that we hopefully can get and see what's back there the 7th round to see if we can cover some more needs.
All right, let's go to Chris Adamski.
Hey, Keith, nice to talk to you again. It's pretty, at least from the other parties, scouting community or whatever, you look at draft nicks or whatever, like this kid has a ton of production and they average athleticism isn't there or whatever. How is he? Is it smarts? Is it, hands, technique? What is it that's, has that many sacks whenever everybody's kind of crapping all over his abilities?
But, everybody says the speed and stuff like that. They got to be fast enough to play in this league and fast enough to what we ask them to do, our outside linebackers to do in order to be successful. But the biggest thing for our outside linebackers, and then, everybody wonders about TJ and how he made the Pro Bowl and stuff like that, is really sacks, and that's a big part of our game is sacks. We led the league in sacks the last 4 years, I believe. And so this kid is very good at rushing the passer, does a good job what we call long arming people, pushing people with the inside hand past the quarterback and they come underneath and make the play, stuff like that. He does a great job of that, and that shows up. And so does numbers of sacks mean something? Yeah, they mean something, but there are other parts of the game that he has to pay attention to. And we as coaches have got to do a good job of teaching him what to do within the framework of the defense we're trying to run.
Alan Saunders.
Yeah, you kind of talked about this a little bit, but I noticed he just has a ton of forced fumbles and fumble recoveries and things like that. Is there such a thing as a guy that just finds the ball sometimes, or is that a matter of being in the right place at the right time, or is that a skill?
All of the above. All of the above. Really, Mike does a great job, I think, in my opinion. He does a great job in terms of emphasis of what our guys do, what they're looking at. He calls it ball awareness. And what is ball awareness? When you're rushing the passer and you get a clean look to get to him, trying to strip the ball away from the passer, or somebody's running and you tackle them and you got your hand on the ball to try to rip it out. Stuff like that. And we've led the league a lot of times in takeaways too, which is always helpful for us. We want to try to score touchdowns if we can. But for us, ball awareness is a huge part of our defense. Getting the ball back for the offense. And what does that mean is stripping the ball and causing fumbles or causing interceptions, hitting the quarterback right when he's throwing it, stuff like that. So, Mike does a great job of emphasizing that to the whole team and to the whole defense, and our guys seem to own it.
All right, I thought we had Jerry, but we'll go with Brooke Pryor.
Hey, Butts. When we talked with Carl Dunbar earlier today about Isaiah Loudermilk, he said about defensive linemen, they're like pretty women. There's not many of them, but everybody wants them. What was it about Isaiah that you guys said we need to trade up, we need to get him, he's a guy that we need to move some assets for?
Well, after you told me that stuff about Lumbar, man, I don't even remember the question. Because I sure ain't gonna say that about no women. I'm married. I'll get a lot of problems if I do that. What was the first part of the question? Seriously.
What was it about Isaiah Loudermilk?
Okay, I like Loudermilk because he reminds me a little bit of a young Cam Hayward. He's surely not as developed as Cam was. Cam came out of college, and we drafted him. We took him in a high pick, and he really helped us quite a bit. But he still had a lot to learn. Cam will be a good tutor to this guy. I think Loudermilk would do well to get in that crowd with Cam and the rest of our defensive line and learn a lot from them. And Dunbar does a great job with them too. I mean, he does a great job in terms of teaching them how to rush the passer, what their technique is in the running game, what are they doing in double teams, what are they doing in slip blocks, all that stuff. He does a great job of coaching them. And I'm not worried about that. I know he's going to develop, and Carl will do a good job of developing him.
All right, it looks like it's for everybody. Appreciate it, everybody. We'll be back here at some point.